Oh, I can do this now. Welcome. Here we are. We Shoulda live and direct, coming from the We Shoulda Studios in Anywhere, USA. I am Sean Manning.
I'm Jason Jamerson.
Jason Jamerson. So, my brother, how was your week been?
Man, it's been good. Sitting down like this, man, it makes me feel real distinguished.
Does it?
It does. It makes me feel like I have more insightful opinions on things.
Was that because you got a different wig on now?
I mean, this is what I usually got.
The other week, you thought you was a criminal.
Oh yeah, I was an outlaw. But then I was an outlaw sitting on the stool. You know what I'm saying?
You were on the stool.
No. Last week I was an outlaw working out, so I felt like I was on the yard.
Hey, listen. So hey.
You know, so now
way to do it.
Now we're in a legitimate established studio. You know what I'm saying? We can have waters. It's some whatever somebody wants to
a splash of the
sponsor.
Good stuff. Yeah. One of those energy. Whatever.
Hydration drinks.
Whatever.
I prefer a hydration drink than
whatever it takes.
Liquor. Not liquor.
I mean, you've
already
already stepped.
Actually,
you've already stepped in.
I actually say I'm gonna stop drinking for a while.
I mean, when was the last time you were drunk?
I'm a comedian, man.
No.
It comes for free, no matter where I go, as long as I don't bomb. Oh man, let me get you a drink, brother. Especially if it's Caucasians.
So you're gonna be drinking. So you're gonna refrain from it in a social, professional, comedic setting as well.
Because I never really drank.
Right.
Once upon a time, but I haven't drank. But you know, they'll buy me a shot or something like that, and now I'm turning that down. Buy me chicken.
Buy you chicken. Hey,
don't buy me a shot. Buy me chicken.
There are worse things.
I'm gonna put that on the shirt.
Buy me chicken.
Don't buy me
some chicken.
Get me some chicken. Don't buy a shot. Buy me chicken.
So, last meal, chicken or beef?
My last meal?
Your last meal.
Oh, so.
Well, no, I want to say last meal because I would say why not get both? But preference.
My last meal.
Chicken or beef?
My preference is really depends on who cooks it.
Or I guess you could throw a fish in there.
So I have to go the best version of that I've ever had of each one and what I would prefer. And I would have to say the best steak I had trumps is the best anything else I've ever had. So I would have to go beef.
Okay. And was this a steak you made or?
Was it the steak I made? It was one year I went crazy on that steak, and that was before I was actually trying to figure out what the recipe was. I just it was one of them mistakes. It was one of them great mistakes.
It was a mistake.
I didn't even do that on purpose, but yes. One of them great mistakes. You just throwing stuff in there, you throw it on the grill, you like, oh my. It was the one with the video my brother was crying over the steak.
Okay.
I legitimately couldn't find him because he decided at the time, we was on a budget. So I'm like, all right, the kids do not get the premium meats. They get the hot dogs, the hamburgers, the chicken. But the premium meats, the salmon, the steak, they can get one bone of ribs. But other than, you ain't about to take 2 bites and then waste the good stuff.
That is something that a kid could do.
So it's like the premium meats were reserved for the adults.
Right.
And so my brother knew that one of his 5 kids was going to ask for a piece of that steak after he took a bite of it. And he vanished. Nobody can find him. I was like, where'd y'all go? And nobody can find him. I went downstairs to the basement and my man came. He was down there listening to Italian romance music, eating that steak. I'm like, what are you doing? I had to, the initial reaction was real. Then we manufactured and made a video. But I walked in there, he just looked up like somebody caught him. He said, that's the face he made. He had the food just like, John, what you doing? The steak, one of the best things I ever tasted. I was like, I gotta get that on camera. And then my brother can actually cry on command.
Yeah.
He's not even an actor. He can cry on command. So I walked out, I came back in, He said it again, but he had a tear coming down his face.
The Denzel Glory
The
tear?
Denzel Glory tear.
Okay.
Listening to Besame Mucho. I'm like, what is your problem, man? But yeah,
so that steak.
But so what inspired me to get into trying to make a steak that good was when I went to Texas one year.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell you I would have to say that has to be the best one because I've ever had because it inspired me to try to chase. I was chasing that high.
From where?
I don't even know the name of the restaurant. My homeboy was part of this like he was a member somewhere. It was some restaurant up the top of a skyscraper. So he was
in Houston.
In Houston.
Okay.
We was eating steak. I was looking out the window, like you can see.
You can see there's skyscrapers in Houston.
I was looking into the Astros arena out the window.
I mean, the Astros arena is not that tall, but
I'm talking down into it, like it's skyscraper enough to where it was wavering in the wind.
What is your so that's your qualification of skyscraper?
I mean,
if it wilts a bit in the wind,
I would assume. I mean, I don't know.
You do know this is your qualification.
That building in Chicago obviously is the
Sears Tower.
They changed the name.
This is the Sears Tower.
Willis Tower is what it is.
Willis Schmillers. It's the Sears Tower.
Why
maybe because Sears was out of business. I'm not sure if it was the same owner.
I would assume it was Bruce Willis because I can't think of any.
Clearly, it wouldn't be Bruce.
I can't think of any black people named Willis who would have the money to buy that tower.
Willis Reed probably doesn't have the money, but his name is in fact Willis.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. So,
but yeah, back to your steak. We'll talk about this skyscraper qualification later on.
Yeah, because I don't really do skyscrapers like that. I'm not scared of them or anything, but I'm in Detroit. There ain't no skyscrapers here. I'll tell you that much.
Right. So I don't know what you was in Houston and thought that building was just.
It was. It was a huge building, man. But yeah, no, that steak, man. It was. I had that. It was that. They had some potatoes, whatever. I was like, yo, this ribeye steak is the.
Oh, it's always got to be. The ribeyes always get you.
I said, this is the best thing I've ever had. I said, where?
I always get you.
I said, where's the chef? I'm not gonna lie. It was so good, and it was like a distinguished type place where it was like, don't dress, try to wear like a button up or polo or something like that. You ain't have to get dressed, but it's like don't go in there no shorts and t-shirt. I was in there. That 2 bites of that steak, the first one just shocked me. I was like, oh, the second one almost turned me to a nigga. No. Like, when they asked me, is everything okay? I was like, what you mean, is everything okay? What you mean, is everything okay? It's better than okay. Where's the chef? Bring him out here. I need to know. I need to know some things. You got to tell me. I almost, but I was like, you know what? He's a member here. I don't want to, you don't want to. I don't want to mess all that up. I was like, scrumptious, and then just kept it pushing. But we got in the car.
Actually, anybody else have the same ribeye as you?
No. My other homeboy had some fish, and I think my man's had some chicken. I think, but fish,
smaller. These are smaller mortals.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, of course, they had chicken and fish. Of course, they did chicken and fish.
It
makes sense.
Yeah. What about you? Beef, chicken, fish, turkey?
No, I've been to many a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to many a restaurant, but none of them hold a candle to what my wife can do. I would have told you ribeye. She had made a cowboy ribeye because I got a Traeger for the house, a smoker, Traeger smoker for the house, and easily one of the greatest decisions I've ever made in my entire life. And it was what she wanted for Mother's Day, because obviously she's a chef and likes to do all that. And granted, it was a Mother's Day gift, but it has been a gift to everyone in the home. So some cowboy ribeyes on there. But a couple of months ago, I know I'm going to say the word wrong. It's spatchcock, woodcock.
Ah, yes, spatchcock.
There you go. She did that to a chicken. There's a it's not rotisserie because but there's a chicken, there's a bird at J. Alexander's that almost every time is cooked to perfection. Almost every time they got a little sauce. I don't want to not the as you. It might be that, but it has some sauce. Chicken wise, again, I've eaten just about everywhere you can eat in the United States. Chicken wise, that J. Alexander bird is top tier, and I wasn't sure it could be bested. Let me tell you about the spatchcock Traeger bird. I had no anticipation, literally no anticipation. Okay, she's smoking chicken. Like, all right, you know what I mean? It's happened 1,000 times, since since we've had the grill. She put an ankle in. I'm usually drumstick thigh guy, but I was just
like legs and thighs,
just peeling off breast meat, just
like the delicate petals of a rose,
just like that, just peeling it off. And when I tell you, one of the greatest things
you about to cry, man?
I've ever tasted.
Your voice did a thing, and you got this little glisten in your eye.
That spatchcock bird on the Traeger is award winning, and because of her, it kind of makes me not want to go out because I'm going to go out, I'm going to spend $300, $400, $500, $600, and it's not going to be better than what I could have gotten at home.
So
obviously it's always good to give a chef a night or several nights off, but man,
I believe it because
what a time.
Was it 2 Thanksgivings ago? So black people are notorious. The majority of black people are notorious for overcooking turkey. Overcooking meat, period.
Overcooking,
overcooking meat, period.
For sure.
But like Thanksgiving, like that's why they don't do turkey on Thanksgiving because black people don't necessarily know how to do turkey.
Right.
The majority of them, of course, there's
the Sahara.
Exactly. So I took it upon myself. I was like, I want to figure out how to make a turkey because the best turkey I ever had was when I was a kid. I went to my Caucasian neighbor's house for dinner one time, and I said, "What is this chicken?" They're like, "No, it's a turkey." I said, "Impossible." There's no way turkey can be this juicy. They're like, "No,
Were they doing it with the beer cans or something?
I don't know what they did. They did something, but it was juicy, and it wasn't even Thanksgiving. Did you know white people eat turkey on Wednesdays?
I had no idea. But speaking of that,
hold on.
Wait. That spatchcock bird didn't even last 3 days because I was on it. But on the second day,
it was still just as juicy as the first.
After heating it up,
it was still just as juicy.
Just rose petal after a morning dew.
Looking like them roses falling off the Beauty and the Beast flowers.
If a rose was still listen.
Oh man, every rose has a story.
That was go ahead.
Yeah, so I looked it up. I was like, all right, what's the best way to cook a juicy turkey? And they'll say you can brine it, you can do this, whatever. But they was like, this is when I first heard of spatchcocking anything. Oh, and I spatchcocked it. I called my brother. I was like, hey, you ever spatchcocked a turkey? He's like, excuse me?
That's when I first heard the word.
It was like, hey, bro, don't be coming over here with that kind of stuff, bro. We don't do that here. I said, we Christians. I was like, oh, my bad. I didn't know spatchcocking was a ritual. And so, so I spatchcocked that turkey. And I need to do it again because I spatchcocked it and put a little dry brine on it and whatnot. And it was juicy. I just got to, I don't really cook turkey like that. So I got to figure out, all right, what's the best season? And I put it in the oven. I didn't even put it on no open fire or nothing like that. And it was still juicy. I was like, oh.
Traeger.
So I say that to say, Traeger. If spatchcocking a turkey in the oven, because, spatchcocking is so it can help keep the moisture in there and cook even more evenly.
Well, yeah, because, I am vocal when things are dry. Like, I'm not going to be that person that's just How's the chicken? Oh, it's delicious.
No. You're trying to kill me. Yeah,
that breast was a little dry.
Yeah,
but you have to be vocal, because if I wasn't, I was not saying she was the one that was drying it out previous chicken breast, but it's like I prefer a drumstick. I prefer a thigh because blah 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 blah. But the whole bird.
Yeah, and so like I'll cook. This is why whenever I grill chicken breast, I usually grill for myself, because if anybody else wants some, they be wanting it like to the point where it get shrunk down this size because you done cooked all the moisture out of it.
Brick.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Like it don't seem like it's cooked. It still got some juices. It's supposed to.
Right.
Like if the juices are clear, then you're in the clear. No. I don't know if you know that about cooking chicken. If it's coming out colored, then it's like, yeah. So, there's a chance. If there's a chance that somebody else is going to be eating it, I'll be getting traumatized. I just be like, let me just cook a couple of these for them, because they know they're going to, now it's too tough. I'm like, well,
this is what you asked for.
This is what you asked for. You know what I'm saying? But I can only imagine if a turkey is dry or as lean and as dry as a bird that is in the oven being spatchcocked, then a chicken in a Traeger.
Listen, that smoker.
Oh man!
The words do it no justice. But moving on to a different subject. I wanted to ask you about this. Heard a lady say the other day. She was speaking about trauma parenting, right, and surviving, and she used another term, but I can't recall it. But what she had told a story about let's say we're two parents, right? Mm-hmm. One of us is white, right? One of us is white, one of us is black,
which we're not,
right? Let's say you're the white guy, right?
Which I'm not.
And then you see your son out there, and let's say they're playing sports. You're like, oh wow, Timmy's doing great. He just did blah 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 blah. Like, this is me saying this, and you're like, yeah, he does such and such at home. He helps out, great grades, blibbity blobbity blue, right? Mm-hmm. But you, being the white guy, know that my son is more talented than yours, right? Mm-hmm. And all the same things, right? Mm-hmm. So then you give me the same compliment. But then I, as a parent, say, oh, but man, if he could only get blah, 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 blah together. He's such a handful. He or she. Mm-hmm. Is that, you feel, indicative? Not obviously for all black people, but for a high amount to where, and then she tied it into slavery. And so what the tie was, let's say as a child, child slave, you were efficient at whatever it is, whether it was picking cotton, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Usually that meant that you were going to get snatched and then probably sent over, or be sold, because then, that would heighten your worth more. Mm-hmm. Or whether they decided to breed you, whatever the situation was. And so we were always downplayed because of that fear of being taken away. And then I had never thought about it like that, but even I have been in conversations with parents, and it does seem that the black ones, to a degree, do downplay their children's successes, or maybe call themselves humbling it. And then in the same instance, the white friends, white associates, white colleagues, whatever, they usually do, just kind of give their kids the gas. But I had never really thought about it in that way until listening to the lady say it. And I'm not even tying it to the slavery point, but just overall, just the not giving your children their flowers. Like, it's usually a humbling. You know what I mean? Like, somebody will come in, oh wow, Jason's doing great with the comedy. Oh well, if he could just get his everything right, if he could just, you know what I'm saying? Whereas let's say, if it's a white person, it's like, oh, like, oh wow, Chad is doing great. in golf. Like, I know, right? You should see his swing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
I think as a whole,
wait,
black
hold on,
people.
hold on. And then when I first took notice of it, was in the Kanye documentary and what his mother did for him. Because like she never really brought him down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like okay, mom, I'm gonna do this. Oh well, you gotta be. It never seemed like that. It just seemed to where she just supported him and just allowed him to rise. But I had to send you. I thought I might have sent you the video last night, but I guess I didn't. But so when that lady said that, it just made me think of conversations over the years that I've had and that I've heard. And I'm like, wow, that is something that we do. And I know it's not solely tied to us, but when she tied it back to the slavery thing and that just being like a trauma to where, you know, it hinders us. And that if we don't catch it soon enough, it could break you.
Yeah, well, so I'll say what I was about to say. I think black people in general are they have a fear of success.
Right. So is that because of that? Because every time you've gotten somewhere,
I don't know if it
somebody
ties
black
back
is
to
pulling
I
you
don't know
back down.
if it ties to slavery.
Well,
or
I
if
mean,
it ties to
I'm gonna have to send you the video because how she did it, it was, like I said, let's say you're 16 and you on, I don't know, you picking the cotton or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you're flourishing as a as a slave, they profit. I can breed him. He can be sold for top dollar. But if the mother's like, oh, Jimmy's so dumb, he can't get right, boss. This and that and the third, then that would have them more likely to send him away. That was how she tied it in, which obviously neither one of us have been a slave,
right?
So, but I can see that being the case if you're trying to be protective.
I was about to say like an overprotective parent because that's when they just like that's where at that point that's where
because even like whoopings they said that's where whoopings stemmed from. Was that because in my life, not saying Arab, white, Asian, Latino, not saying they don't get whooped, but I am for certain nobody gets it like how we get it. Listen, so I'm saying, so if that's tied in,
they be saying black parents be taking a lot of times they be taking stuff they regular everyday life out in the whoopings of the kid
right?
like you ain't put your shoes on, give me the belt. Like I tell you, I'm tired of working overtime. Like wait, what? What they got to do with me?
So it's all of this trauma that we haven't caught and are now catching in in our 30s, 40s, and obviously not to we hope we won't pass that to our children. But
I mean, yeah, well, I'm not passing it to mine. I keep telling my daughter, as long as you got a plan, you can do whatever you want.
100%.
Like I told her, and I gotta clarify it, and she's gonna understand it more as she gets older. Because I told her when she was 8, because she was talking about college and all this stuff. I was like, Dad, you don't have to go to college. I was like, because I won't be a hypocrite. I didn't go to college. You know what I'm saying? So I can't be like, yes, you have to go to college when I didn't.
Right.
So I just told her, like, listen, as long as you have a plan, you know what you're doing. If you have a plan, and like it's a workable plan,
right?
Like not an idea, but a plan, then you don't have to go to college. But it has to be a plan. So she's 8, 9, 10. So now she's 10. So she don't necessarily know what a plan for the future really looks like. So she was like, I'm just going to start doing this and start doing that. I'm like, all right, well, the plan starts before that. She's like, I want to be a singer I'll start making songs on YouTube. I'm like, well, first of all, you might want to take some classes first. I'm not about to sit here and let my daughter. You ever watch that show on Netflix called Haters Back Off?
No.
This girl named Miranda Sings, where she was terrible on YouTube. Not saying my daughter's terrible, but she's a kid. She hasn't even got her real singing voice yet.
For sure.
But yeah, she was terrible on YouTube, and she was getting a lot of views, but they were watching because she was bad. She thought she was good until there was a live performance and everybody was laughing at her, and she realized it, and it just broke her heart. And I was like, dang, that's messed up. Like the show was funny until it got to this part because I didn't want to see this be the payoff. So like I'm like, all right, the plan starts before YouTube.
Right.
You got the plan. You got to the plan. So and it's funny because I was literally just sitting here the other day, not sitting here, but I was thinking like a lot of people say, "Oh, I want whatever." I hear a lot of black people say, "I want whatever it is that God has for me. That's what I want." And it was like, well, you won't know what God has for you until you actually go out and start doing stuff.
Right.
Like, yeah, you gotta, like you put your boundary here when what God has for you is out here, and you was sitting there, oh, I want to be the king. Like I'll go from a comedian standpoint. Like if you're trying to be the best comedian in the city, but they say you want what God has, or you want to have what God has for you, God may want you to be the biggest comedian in the world.
He could,
but you're limiting yourself to the city. Why? Because you're comfortable. And I asked this question on Facebook some years ago. I said, are you more afraid of success or more afraid of failure? And the majority of the people said they're more afraid of success because failure is more familiar.
So now I need you to tie that in to the parental trauma.
The parental trauma is if we have had that,
but
we didn't believe that didn't come out of nowhere.
Do you believe that is accurate though? From what that lady had said, that is like for whatever reason, some black parents will kind of, and again, it's not even too, I think sometimes it'll be in front of you, and other times it's like, there's like constantly downplaying their kids' successes. I'll get personal once. Well, I guess technically the chicken and the ribeye story was personal, but
very personal.
So
the way you was talking about that chicken, it got real personal.
So I'm not where I want to be in life, right? But outside looking in, most people would say, like, I got a great life. Mm-hmm. Obviously, finances up and down, but I have my health, family. I'm in shape to take care of blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. That stuff. I run a business, blah blah, all that crap. So like I had never at the time, we'll say 36 years or whatever. Like my father had like never said anything positive. Mm-hmm. Right? Like it was always, correction, mm-hmm. Right? And we had called one day. We were on a call one day, and he was telling me, he's like, so I was talking to my neighbor, and he had asked about you, and like his neighbor had asked about me, like, oh,
mm-hmm.
How's your son, blah blah blah, and he's like, I was telling him, all the things that you were doing, and I guess the neighbor could, like it was something on my father's face. He was like, what, what's going on? And, my father said whatever he said. And he said the neighbor was kind of, taken aback. And he was like, he has a family, he has a business. He's not asking you for anything. He's taking care of his family and of his business. He's in, blah, 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 blah. Like, why wouldn't you be proud of that? And I don't think it ever occurred mm-hmm. to my father to be proud. And only in my father's fashion. He says, like, yeah, I'm proud of you. That's not the father's fashion part. As only Willie could do. He then says, all right, let me get off the phone before I say something to fuck this all up. And so, and just now talking to you, it brings that story back. But I don't know if I recall like ever being gassed. Like I was always the gas for myself, or people mm-hmm. who didn't know me and like I want to act. Right, so people who would see me in my everyday life, mm-hmm. oh yeah, Sean, you got it, you can do it, blah 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 blah. Yeah. But it was never, my community. Like it was never the older. Well, at the time I was what? So I've been going for this since I was 15. Yeah. So from 14 on, like it was never really our community, like not our community as in black people. Yeah. Now, obviously, the black theater community or the white theater community, that's a different situation. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to support, everybody supports themselves. But yeah, just thinking about it, like
you would have like there's a this is a total way deeper subject than that because then you got to go into the black men versus black women type conversation because black men, the standard we're held to when we're younger and coming up and everything and the things we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do socially, what like socially acceptable, and how we're supposed to deal with certain things and how we're supposed to deal with being talked to and all that stuff. That's totally different. And it's like, oh yeah, I said that, but it was supposed to build them up and make them tough and do this. And it's like, that's like they call it tough love, but it's like, well, dang, I ain't seen regular love. So tough love is all I know. Then I'm going to pass this down to the next person. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I don't.
So would you agree with that lady for the most part that it is a trauma that they're continuing to pass down? Like, do you feel
I believe all traumas are passed down. Like, I don't think we just came up with a trauma. I know my upbringing was slightly different because it was 6 kids. My mom passed early on, so my dad doing his best to take care of 6 kids.
Now, is that doing his best or is that a doing his best?
I personally feel like you still got to work a full-time job with 6 kids, ages ranging from. I think my older brother was 17 at the time. My little sister was like 4.
You talking about the actual 6,
not the step siblings, just the actual like his biological children range from like 4 or 5. I can't remember how much older. I think I want to say she is 11. She may be 11 years younger than my brother. So it's like the 6 kids with an 11-year age gap from the oldest to the youngest.
Okay,
meaning there's elementary school, there's high school, there's college. So then, the typical black trope, the oldest has to try to step up, but he got a life to live. So that's the only reason he got a car is so he can help my dad out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the words of Simon, you can't be everywhere and save everybody.
Right.
So my dad, he had the conversion van, but he can't be picking everybody up from school at one time.
No, he can't.
I was going into 9th grade. My brother was going in the senior year. My older sister was becoming a junior, and then everybody else was like, elementary and middle school.
Right, for sure.
So it was like, starting from there and then going from there, and then it just happened abruptly. It wasn't like my mom was sick for a long time and he had time to prepare or anything. Right. It was just like that, and it was like at that night. So him coming up that way, or me coming up that way. And I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast before, but I know I told you this before. Like, my thing was, I just didn't want to be a problem. Like, I seen the things my dad had to go through and whatnot. So me personally, my upbringing was different because I say this all the time, and it's not a knock to my dad at all, but I grew up, but I wasn't raised. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was raised until 9th grade, and after that, I just grew up from there. Like, the streets raised me after that. But no, like my friends that were older than me, like I was just observed. Like nobody, my dad was, you had to help everybody else out, do all that on top of working a full-time job at DTE. Yeah. And so, anything after school with anybody was dang near non-existent unless they had somebody from the school to help them drive or whatever. So, or they'll drop them off at home and everything. So I just kind of grew up. And so, and I want to say that's why my mindset is a lot different than some of my other, my siblings, is because me growing, I was able to come up with my own ideas of what,
to entertain yourself.
Yeah, not even entertain myself, but just like as I was growing up, just my own ideas of what life can be when I get there. So just like you, I gassed myself. You know what I'm saying? I had nobody was really like, even to this day, like people will see, because, it's, as an artist, I can name all of the credits that I have and everything like that. But everybody knows until you made it, you ain't made it yet. You know what I'm saying?
Till you in the show.
You on the show, you got some kind of contract where you're touring or something like that. Like, until that happens, you ain't made it yet. So I still got to live, a regular life. But it's like, that battery in my back to be like, all right, yeah, you could do this, but there's these opportunities are going to come for you. You can do this, you can do that. And, people supporting, their way of supporting is giving me ideas that will take me away from what I actually am trying to do to help do this for a little while, get this together. I'm like, listen, I know people get discovered when they're 40, 50 years old. I don't want that to be me. I don't know if God wants that to be me, but I know that in order, I'm just saying, King John's story or whatever.
Yeah.
But, everybody wants to get discovered as soon as possible.
16, yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, yo, if, at the same time, if you want to, hold on one second. Sorry, chat.
Okay. So.
But no, I'm going to say this and I'm going to get out of here.
You're not saying anything.
Hold on.
You got my ass hanging out on the floor here. Come on. Can't have any dead air. There we go.
So, so I say that to say that yes, there are those there's the trope of us always trying to humble somebody and bring us down because I don't know why black people's idea or definition of humble is different than the dictionary's definition of being humble. And there is that, sense of insensitivity, I guess, for lack of better terms. As far as like they good, but there's always that but that
right.
black parents always put at the end of everything. I do believe that our generation is better at it than because I think we're
trying to get better for sure.
Well, I believe our generation, because this is a therapy generation, and we all all about self-awareness and whatnot. I think we're more aware of what the damage that our parents did to us, and I'm sure that the older generation felt like the same thing too. Like, oh yeah, my parents did this, and I didn't want that to be the case. Either that, or they felt like it was the norm, and they just called it a day. Right. But I think we're more aware of what was actually damaging to us as individuals. Like some people sit there and try to say, like, "Oh, whoopings are bad for everybody." Like, depending on how you got your whooping. Like, if I give my daughter a whooping, one, I don't give her a whooping on the first offense.
Right.
Two, I explain to her why she's getting a whooping.
Right.
And three, I don't give her whoopings over dumb stuff. Like I'll take something away, or it'll be a punishment. But like, whoopings are for like lying or
right. But how often?
And I think I can count on one hand how many times I had to give my daughter a whooping.
I was about to say because I don't want the CPS.
I don't know.
It's illegal in your house. You never know anymore.
It ain't like it's
they got the right to choose.
I ain't do no Adrian Peterson out here. I just like I tell her exactly what's about to happen. I explained to her like what did I say, and I'll give her that warning. Like if this happens again, you're getting a whooping.
For sure. Because it's not based off of emotion. It's just a matter of correction.
Yeah, because then when I talk to her, I'll be like, what did I say was going to happen? What did you do? Then we have the conversation. Why did you do it? All that good stuff. And I'm like, listen, you're going to get a whooping. Right. I'll be sounding like Liam Neeson. They're going to take you.
So real quick, since I know you, we got to get back to business. So do you feel that hindered us? Not us as in you and I, but as a people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. I for sure think it hindered us because that's why there's so many black people who are scared. So I'll put it like this, because we're in the entertainment industry. This is the point of reference I can always use.
For sure.
Everybody thinks just going to LA is when you made it. Like, people are scared to even just move out there.
Yeah, I did that.
You did that, right? But there's people here who are just like, oh, they went to LA? Oh, they out here doing big stuff. They out here doing, that's big business and whatnot. I'm like, you change your address. That's it.
Not until.
Yeah, till I got one of them.
And this 20 years later, and somebody who I don't know has, a movie that I was, on the marquee on it. They got me hanging up in their, home
but,
or office.
Like I said, there's a lot of people who they're afraid of success because they're afraid, there's always I don't want to say, I say this in a joke now, like black people are conspiracy theorists by nature. So there's always that, oh no, in order for them to get this, they had to did this, or they had to went to a Diddy party, or they had to did. But it's so
do you think it kind of stems from that though? From the initial, Jason's got great grades, he's great in sports, but Do you think
I
that's where
think it stems from
it originates?
I think it stems from the experience of seeing a black person hit a ceiling and having to do something like they saw somebody else hit a ceiling and they had to do something uncharacteristic or something like that to be able to break through that ceiling and get to where they want to go. And they're like, oh, they basically sold their soul to get there. And they're like, oh, I don't want that to happen to my child. And I think that's really where the whole backup plan came from. Where black people are really just like, you got to get an engineering degree before you try to do this, because that, it's. And I'm not saying this, not, they call it Holly weird for a reason,
For sure.
but at the same time, it's like there's a level you can get to without having to do all this stuff.
True.
You know what I'm saying? And you can actually get past that level depending on,
True.
It's all in how you, invest the money and all that good stuff. But then it's also, like you said, when people say what they want, whatever God has for them, if God wants you to have it, you ain't gonna have to do all that extra stuff to have it.
True.
Like I tell people all the time, yes, I want to be rich. Yes, I want to be famous. I want to be rich. Famous kind of comes with the territory most of the time in this industry. But I would be perfectly fine doing what I love, just living the life I'm living right now, like comfortably, like being able to pay all my bills, doing straight comedy and acting, like paying all my bills, being able to take a vacation or two a year, being able to buy, not wanting for anything.
Right.
I don't necessarily have to be in a mansion. I could be living in the house I'm in right now.
Okay.
But as long as what I love doing is paying my bills, I'm good with that. I'm not going to turn down the mansions and whatnot.
Would you be driving the same truck?
Oh, no, I'd have a better truck.
Okay. So we'll cap that off, and then real quick, because I know you got a slide. Playoffs have began. Play-in started 2 days ago. I won't bother asking you which
Nuggets
teams are. Okay, wait. So you say Nuggets got the West?
Nuggets. It's going to be Nuggets Celtics.